Hi, welcome back to Keep It Dirty, a podcast where my guests share their life living functionally and sustainably, and the why behind their experiences navigating through our ever-changing environment. I am your host, Leslie Dowling. I'm a corporate speaker sharing how one can jumpstart your path to increased revenue and productivity through restorative health techniques. And today it is my pleasure to welcome my guest, Lynnis Woods Mullins. Lynnis is a dynamic certified holistic living and wellness expert and life coach, specializing in empowering women over 40 to thrive in mind, body, and spirit. As the founder of Praise Works Health and Wellness, she has spent over 17 years educating midlife women through coaching, ebooks, webinars, online events, digital magazines, podcasts, webcasts, and wellness retreats. Her focus on holistic practices, fitness, nutrition, and spiritual renewal has transformed thousands of lives. Lynnis is the creator of the Wellness Woman 40 and Beyond and Vibe Living brands and co-author of Power Up Superwoman. She also publishes Wellness Woman 40 and Beyond, e-magazine, and recently launched the Vibe Wellness Woman Network, a membership program designed to inspire vibrant living for women in midlife. She hosts 3 successful podcasts, Lynnis Minutes, The Wellness Journey, and Vibe Living Podcast, which ranks in the top 10% of podcasts globally, with a loyal following of over 24,000 in her Vibe Wellness Women 40 and Beyond Facebook group, and a social media following exceeding 150,000. Lynnis is a leading voice in midlife wellness. With certifications in yoga and Pilates, a background in dance, and a passion for holistic health, Lynnis offers masterclasses, retreats, and wellness programs aimed at reducing stress, shedding pounds, managing menopause, and promoting overall vitality. Her philosophy: midlife is not the end. It's an opportunity to thrive. It's never too late to make a change, chase your dreams, and live joyfully. Lynnis is married and has 4 beautiful daughters and 6 wonderful grandchildren, with one on the way. Wow. Lynnis, it's so good. It's such a pleasure. You are just such a trailblazer. I'm so proud of you. And you've just empowered so many people doing so many things. We could be on this podcast for several hours. How are you
Well,
doing?
thank you so much for inviting me, Leslie. A couple of things. The first thing is that Leslie is my sister's name, and I wanted to let you know that actually my name rhymes with Dennis. It's Lynnis.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to interrupt you.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
good. Thank you. I
you're
will make
welcome.
sure I never make that. I'll make
No
that.
problem. People do it all the time. I've been called all kinds of things. Linus, Linnaeus, lettuce,
Yeah, yeah.
people. Yeah, I've always struggled with people pronouncing my name correctly, so not a problem at all. But it is wonderful to be here with you today. Fantastic.
Yes. So, my gosh, where do we start? How about, have you always just been a powerhouse, even as a child, just achieving and just wanting to be, in a place of empowerment? And maybe you could give us a little background about,
Well,
your childhood, or
sure.
what made
I would
you.
say that, yeah, I have always been a driver. I can remember my parents telling me before
Mm,
I went away to college, we sat down and had this talk, and they were like, Linus, my dad was saying, your mom and I are just a little bit concerned because you've never really experienced failure yet. And college is all about experiencing failure. So we just want to try to prepare you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? But they were right. I almost flunked out of college because I was so busy partying and having a good time. My first time being free away from mom and dad. So that was my first really big failure when I got back for Christmas break. And my parents, when they met me at the airport, they had my grades and they weren't happy. So that was my first big failure. But generally speaking, I had a great childhood. I was involved in a lot of things. And because I do happen to be African American and a female, I was first in a lot of things, back in the 70s. And back then we still have first now in 2024. But I was first in a lot of things. So when I got to college, I was used to, being kind of set apart from everybody else. But I got there and I went to Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia, which is an all-female African-American college. And there were a bunch of Lynnises there. There were a bunch of firsts there. And I immediately got intimidated. And therein began my slide to my biggest failure my freshman year of college. But thankfully, I woke up and finished and everything else. But it really opened my eyes to, first of all, excellence and the fact that everything that you do to your best ability. You don't ever slack off. If you're not doing it to your best, then you have to take a look at, well, do I really want to do it? And the other thing is that, nothing's perfect. You make mistakes. This is probably the most important part of growing up is making mistakes so that you can learn from them. And I talk about that to my daughters all the time. They're all in their 30s with one getting ready to be 40. And I always like to say that the 30s, 20s and 30s are the hair on fire moments where you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, and I tell them that's age appropriate. Everything is like that right now because it's not within your life experience. But the hope is that when you get to your 40s and 50s, you respond a little differently because you've been through a lot of things by that time. And so you're like, okay, yeah, I survived this, so I know I'll survive that. But I had a lot of, oh my God, hair on fire from my 20s to my about 32. And then I had to grow up. At the age of 32, my mom was killed. She was 56 and she was hit by a fire truck on her way to work. And it was how I dealt with that caused me to have 20 years later, accumulation of things, to have an anxiety disorder. And at the age of 51, I left corporate America and decided to heal holistically. And I left on sabbatical. And when it was time for me to return a year later, I didn't. I called my boss and I said, you know what? I think that, being in corporate America for like 25 years, I think it's time for me to do something differently. And I had no idea what that was going to be, Leslie. I knew nothing about the internet. I didn't even know what social media was. This is back in 2008. And my degrees, my graduate and undergrad degrees were in human resources, business, that kind of thing. So all I had was this desire to help women not go through what I went through. And I was still going through it. I was still trying to figure out where this anxiety was coming from. And my husband was very supportive initially when I started this journey. So he invested in me and got me on Voice America. And because I've been interviewing people for 30 years, because of human resources and stuff, I was a good interviewer and I got a lot of great guests and everything else. And this all happened before I even knew anything about wellness. The people I interviewed were my best educators, quite frankly. And it kind of gave me a jump start in terms of social media because people were looking where I was and started following me, whatever. But it kind of happened over time. I'm the longest overnight success ever. 17 years I've been doing this. And things began to really break open, probably going into my 5th year when I finally got that aha moment. But so much of it was just going from one step after another, falling it down a whole bunch of times, experiencing those failures my mom and dad tried to warn me about back when I was 18. I'm a late bloomer, but I finally got to that point where it felt like everything was a failure. But the reality was what I wanted to do was so unusual and so different back then. I was so naive, ignorance is bliss. I didn't know what I didn't know. And I didn't know that no one else was doing this. It just seemed like a good idea to me. Let's do it. So I just jumped off the cliff into the ice water and slowly surfaced. And thankfully, when I surfaced, my family was there to support me, my friends, my husband, and I got through it. I look back on that whole journey and it was necessary to put me to where I am right now. But I've learned so much over the last few years. And the thing that really is important to me to be able to tell women my age, I'm 67. I started this at 51. So it's never too late. It's never too late to pursue a dream, a passion, a desire, to go through that bucket list, set those intentions, and do it. I mean, if I can do it, anyone can do it, because I had no experience in the thing that I am now making six figures at. I had no experience. I went and got my certifications, all that kind of stuff, but it was like OJT, on the job training. And it was really kind of funny when I look back at it. I don't know. I was just talking to a friend of mine who knew me when I first started, and I had stopped working at corporate America, and every day I would be inside my credenza, because back then you had a computer with a credenza, right? And I'm typing away and whatever. And she said, "Lynnis, what are you doing?" And I said, "I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out." And I did. I built my first website back then, on Yahoo Business back then, and all that stuff. But it actually gave me a great foundation when it came to figuring out where I wanted to take my company, climbing up that rock hill with bloody toes and bloody fingernails, trying to get to the top. It gave me a great foundation. It kind of put me where I am now. So that's my story in a nutshell.
Wow, that's an incredible story. I love it. So when you started this journey, did you have a goal in mind, like, or have you just grown so much that you're branching to so many different things? Did you ever think you would be where you are today when you first started in 2010?
When I first started, I had the goal of wanting to open a wellness center in a impoverished area, and also to open up a dance studio to teach women over 40 to dance. And I did the first one. I did open up a studio, but I quickly found out that these women needed so much more than just dance. And that's when I started to delve into the whole mind, body, spirit movement. As far as the wellness center was concerned, I found out, maybe within the first year or two, that I could probably make more money and experience less frustration if I went online. So I basically left where I live in my mind, so to speak, and started reaching out globally. In fact, I think pretty much now people in my city know what I do. I've been on television, on magazines, and things like that. But basically, my main following is outside of Sacramento. It's all over the world. I just felt that back then, a lot of the women that I wanted to work with just weren't ready for my message. So I decided, okay, I'm going to go find somewhere else. For me, the pandemic was like the last little shoe to drop in terms of making women aware over 50 about the internet and how to use it and how it can help you and so on and so forth. So my business really, really shot up after that. But it was a slow burn, because a lot of women, they might have been shopping on the internet, but the idea of purchasing a service, what was that? And it's so esoteric, and I'm like, I don't know, I can help you, whatever. But over time, things began to change, and I'm so happy for that. On Facebook, we have now almost 25,000 on Facebook now, and we just hit a milestone on Instagram for 25,000. On Pinterest, we have about 7,000.
Yeah.
We're in the thousands everywhere, and I'm so grateful. But I now help other women with their wellness companies when it comes to their social media and strategy. And the first thing I tell them is, I know my numbers are great, but let me tell you, a like does not equal a dollar, and a follow does not equal a client. So you got to keep it in perspective. It just raises awareness. I've had some people follow me for 10 years and just now, oh, gee, maybe I should hire Liz. 10 years. I would have died waiting for that. So it's, you have to keep it in perspective. You also have to be multifaceted in terms of how you get your business out there. You go ahead and promote what you're doing, let it go on to the next thing. Don't obsess about the outcome. These are all things that I had to learn. And I am glad to say the main reason why I got into this was to heal myself. I am probably about 99% anxiety free. And I found out during my journey that it was more than just anecdotal. I did have post-traumatic stress, and anxiety is an offshoot of that. But from a wellness perspective, there's such a thing called menopausal anxiety that has everything to do with way too much cortisol in the mornings and how it makes you feel and everything else. I finally figured that out. Now, I had been to therapists, doctors, all of that, and none of them came up with that. It was a hormone coach who pointed it out to me, and it just kind of re-solidified the importance of women like me and what we do, that are not necessarily the doctors, but we're paraprofessionals. We've been well trained and can at least give you the questions to ask, because I work for doctors as well, the questions to ask, and also give you an awareness of choices. You have choices. You can choose how you want to age. You can age and be sick, but aging doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be sick while doing it. And that's the message that I definitely want to send to women.
Wow. And on that note, I realized that I have my power cord plugged in, but I don't have the cord. So here we go. This is why I love what we do.
Done that.
All of a sudden you're talking and
I realize that my computer's not plugged in and I'm getting ready to go out and I'm interviewing somebody. Oh my gosh. And there have been times when it went out. I mean, after so many years, you've had just about everything. Lights going out, internet not working, forgetting to turn on the record. I've done.
Oh, I haven't done that yet.
Oh my God. Of course, it was the best recording ever. But I've learned when those kind of things happen for a reason, and when you go back and you redo it, it actually is better probably than it would have been in the first place. That's kind of how I've survived those kinds of things. Say, well, this one's going to be even better.
Wow. And I think that's the beauty of just being able to be so creative and to find your tribe of people. And I just feel like there are people I resonate with, and people that really embrace each other and get it. And we're so passionate about what we do as podcasters. I know I have a lot of very dear friends where I live, and they support me, but they just don't really understand.
I get it. I know what you're talking about. Oh my gosh. Yes. It's interesting. This can be a very lonely journey in terms of people getting it, in terms of what you're trying to do. And they want to support you and be enthusiastic when you tell them whatever it is, and they don't really know what you're talking about. So I've learned to have a different support group for different things. Most of my friends that I work with in this business, my collaborators and people who support me, are many times folks I've never met, but I've known them for years on the internet. And they're a lot younger than me, probably 15 to 20 years younger than me. My other girlfriends, I mean, like, for instance, they're still asking me, where can they get my magazine? And I'm like, okay, it's online. It's online. It's online. It's online. So, or they're all retired now, most of them, and they want to go on cruises and coffee shop and all that kind of stuff. And I'll do some of that, but actually, after a couple hours, I'm like, okay, I gotta get back because I want to do this and that. And they say, oh, Lynnis, you work too much. I'm like, well, it doesn't feel like work. But as my best friend said, you know what? I understand, Lynnis. You put up with me and my stories for 36 years of working for the state, which is true because she would have some crazy stories. She said, I can certainly support you for these last 17 years in terms of what you've been doing. But, I just kind of accepted the fact that God puts people in your life for a reason, for a season. I have a core group of friends that I've known since I was 6 years old. Wow. There's about 7 of us, and we call ourselves the SSS, Sensual Sexy Sisters, or Sensual Sexy 60s, or something like that, because we're all in our 60s.
I love that.
But they're not my clients. They're not. They follow me, but they're not there for that. The people who understand what it is I'm doing and support what I'm doing is because they're kind of doing something like that themselves, and that's okay. When I first got started, I didn't think that my friends and family would be the ones that would be buying from me, whatever it was I was going to create, because I didn't even know what that was. And I've kind of kept that rule. I don't pitch to my friends or my family, but they come to me all the time for advice, and, I give it to them. But what I'm saying now with this Vibe Wellness Woman Network, I'm saying, okay, for all you folks who've been following me for years and years and years and getting all this free advice, now is the time for you to show your support.
Yes. Amen to that. Absolutely.
Yeah, you want to, yeah.
Wow. And so I'm just looking at all that you have done and accomplished. The retreats, maybe you could speak into that.
Oh yeah, I haven't done it for a while because I've been so busy. But about 2 years ago, for like 5 years prior, I did something called Wellness Woman Spa Days, where
Mm.
people would come to my home and we would have a mind, body, spirit spa day and just do a lot of different things from a holistic perspective. We covered everything, all the way from meditation to water aerobics, because I have a pool in my backyard and I have a very huge backyard with a tennis court and a grassy
Um,
knoll area for yoga. So we would do yoga. We would do forest bathing, because there is a forest on my property, a bunch of trees and stuff. We would do aromatherapy. We would have a vegan meal, so they can see what that, or not vegan, vegetarian meal, so they could see what that was like. It was all about raising their awareness and feeling a sense of calm, because at the end of the day, everybody would always say, gosh, I feel so relaxed, because we're all
mm,
outside,
yeah.
on my patio or around the pool or whatever. So I did that for about 6 years, and I did it in different cities and besides just my home. And then I have done something called Soul Sisters Saturday, which is an opportunity for women to gather.
Hmm.
And I do it in conjunction with a woman by the name of Jill Diamond Taylor, who's a motivational speaker and has been around for years doing this. And the whole idea is to bring women, mostly over 50, together to share. And I talk about the wellness thing and things they need to be thinking about in terms of taking care of their physical bodies. And she talks about the spiritual part and things they need to be talking about when it comes to their spirituality and connecting.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful time. We have vendors that are there. We serve food and all that kind of stuff. So I've done a couple of those. And I also did a trip to Costa Rica,
Mm.
which was really an interesting experience. Don't know when I'll do that again. It was a lot. It was a lot. It was a
Yeah.
lot. But it was great. I think I probably will do it maybe for my 70th birthday or something, do a big Vibe Women's Retreat. I'm
Yeah.
thinking that I would, but those are some of the things I've done in terms of in-person events. But most of what I do is online. And I've done a lot of summits. I've done numerous summits. One of the best ones I did was the Holy Health and Wellness, I think it was called, or no, Hope. It was called Hope something or other. Oh, I hear a sound. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah. No, I turn off my phone technology thinking and ding, it's synced with my laptop. It's not doing it on this phone. So we love technology, don't
Oh
we?
yeah, we just love it. We just love it. During the pandemic, I did a summit for women to kind of raise their spirits, and it was called Hope. And I cannot remember the acronym now. It seems like it was 50 years ago, but it was only like 2 or 3 years ago. We did two of them. I think
Mm.
we did three of them in a year. And I gathered some of the wellness professionals that I knew, and we all had different topics that we spoke about to help women kind of deal with the isolation, their health, fortifying their immune system, to raise their spirits, all of that. It was very successful. We created a brand and everything. And it's so funny. I need to start thinking about that again. So I can upload we did some wonderful things I could upload to the new website,
Yeah.
on the paid
Wow.
site for people to look at, because it was really a revelation. To some women, this was their first time ever being on Zoom, to see
Mhm.
something. And it was just, it made me so happy that I had hung in there for as long as I did to finally see the last little small percentage of women that hadn't gotten on Zoom at all. Now it's like no thing, but back
Yeah.
then it was a big deal. So those are just some of the things that I have done over the years. I've been on numerous podcasts, and
Mhm.
probably one of the things that's been maybe the most exciting was that I was a centerfold for First for Women uh,
Wow.
last year. It was a couple. They've done two articles on me. One in 2022, another one in 2023 or 20. Well, it was actually 2024. They did another one, so that was a big deal. It gave me what they call it, street cred,
Yeah.
national cred. Yeah, I was in a national
Woohoo.
publication talking about my experience with anxiety. And you know how they found me? And this is so interesting,
Yeah.
Leslie. They found me on Clubhouse. She heard me speaking on Clubhouse.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting because I joined.
And that's why I know I should not give up on Clubhouse yet. I should go back, but I've been so busy. I just haven't really been back. But I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to get back again, because I got 7,000 people following me on Clubhouse. And
And I thought I had a lot at 1.8, but I haven't been on in a year. But I found the first time, and I'll share this quickly because this is your time.
No, no, go ahead.
I jumped on in 2020. All my friends said, Club, what is this, a dating app? You're married. What are you doing Clubhouse? And it's a fellow practitioner of mine that said, you have a voice, you love to speak. Why don't you jump on board with me? We'll create a functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioner group. We did that. And then I was playing around because I'm always very curious. So I have to be 100 steps ahead. Everybody says, you're on the speedboat. And Leslie, we're on the rowboat. You're just so ahead of us. And I said, I know, because my mind is like, I'm going to jump into this. Why not? And I created a room, didn't know really what I was doing at that point. And the woman I bumped into had a radio station, and it was Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner. And she spoke about mental health. And it was a beautiful creation of a couple of us from Clubhouse that became then every couple of months, we'd be on board. Somebody spoke passionately into, health and wellness, brain gut health. And we all just formed this beautiful group. And I was supposed to meet her in Clearwater. And unfortunately, she had an aneurysm at 47 and passed. She was a trailblazer. She did so much.
I think I heard you all referring to her. What was her name?
Tiffany Warner. And
Yeah,
Tiffany,
I
if
remember
you're up
that
there, we
name.
love you. She was just a ray of sunshine and hope. And she did so much in the community where she lived. And she'll always be dear to my heart.
That's so interesting. I have a story, something similar. Someone that I met on Clubhouse, and we became very close. And she had a movement there on Clubhouse. Her name was, I think they called her Pastor Nadine. I called her Nadine. Pastor Nadine,
Yeah.
wonderful person. She passed away. And it was just such a shock. She got sick and she just went very quickly. And I still stayed on Clubhouse after all of that, but it wasn't the same. That was right before Clubhouse began to change. And I'm still trying to. I think, well, if I go and I open a room, what if no one comes? But that should not be my focus. My focus should be, let me open a room and see who does show up. Because many of those 7,000, they're probably gone, and so many people have left. But Clubhouse increased my bottom line by about 30%. Wow. So, and it introduced me to a whole new realm of women. So I feel like I owe them a little bit of loyalty. So I am going to come back, definitely. So I'm on there every Thursday for a networking session with Dr. Jackie. Every Thursday.
She's awesome.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is.
Do you know her in person? Is she from?
Yes, I do. In fact, she's one of my contributors for the new site. Yes.
Wonderful.
In fact, I'll tell you a story about the wonderful Dr. Jackie. I have a daughter who lives in Miami. And she travels a lot. Like last year, she went to 9 countries. So she decided she wanted to go to South America. And she was trying to think where she wanted to go. And she mentioned one particular country. And I said, oh, I don't think you should go there unless you know anyone. And she said, Mama, I've traveled. I said, no. You have to be careful there because they kidnap Americans and take them for ransom. So you definitely need to know someone to kind of show you where to go. And so I thought, wait a minute, I do know someone that lives in that country. Let me call her. And it was Dr. Jackie. And I said, Dr. Jackie, are you available? And she said, of course. So she met my daughter. They went out to lunch. They stayed in touch. He was just someone that my daughter could call in case something happened. But Dr. Jackie is amazing and so experienced. She is such a gift in my life and in so many others. And she really knows her stuff when it comes to relationships and all of that. She has a powerful life story. I mean, she's just amazing. So, and she's become one of my best friends from Clubhouse. I have several and she's one of them.
Oh, that's lovely. When I go into those rooms occasionally, I try to find both of you, and she's always so giving. She's like, how can we help you?
Yes, that's her.
I mean, it's like, whoa, it wasn't like sell packages.
No. We really do mean that. It's for me, and I think that's true for Dr. Jackie too. When you're an entrepreneur, and you're trying to create that kind of manifestation energy, you have to lead with service.
Yes.
You cannot lead with, what are you going to buy from me? And I think that is what has held me, for 17 years. I mean, I haven't lost my house, my car, lights are still on, I'm doing okay. But I think it's because when you're leading with service, people pick up the energy of that. Whereas that desperation energy, and I mean, it's not always easy to lead with service when you got a zero in your bank account. Okay, I'm not saying that. I get it, but I would venture to say that if you're leading with service, you're not going to ever have really zero in your bank account. As one of my friends once told me, she says, "Well, I never say I'm broke. I say I'm temporarily out of cash." It's okay.
I love that. That's a good one. I love that. And the two questions I always ask my guests, first of all, who is your superhero or role model in life? Do you have one?
Yes, I do.
Can you
Yes, I
share
do.
that?
Sure. I don't know if you ever heard of her or not, but I just absolutely love her. Her name is Susan Taylor. And Susan Taylor was the chief editor of Essence Magazine. Essence Magazine was a magazine for African American females, and she was chief editor for years. And I admired her because she just had such a brilliant way about her. And she was so spiritually in tuned and so wise. She wrote a book called In the Spirit. And it was a collection of all her essay writings that she would always write an essay or an editorial in the magazine, for the month. And I would buy the magazine just for that. And then I got blessed to meet her twice. One time was when I was attending a national MBA conference, and I was there on behalf of my company, and I had just gotten my MBA, and she was there as one of the speakers. And she had just written another book, and she was, doing book signings. I didn't have the books. I went and I bought the book, and finally came in front of her, and I just told her, I really admire you. I've read just about anything that you've written. And so she said, "So what are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I'm here on behalf of my company. I'm in charge of recruitment, and we come to this conference all the time because we like to recruit MBAs. And I just got my MBA." She said, "Really?" So she started asking me questions, was I married? And, I told her how many little girls I had, because at that time I had 4 little girls. And she's like, "How do you do that?" She asked me what their names were, and I'm like, she was just so tuned into me. She's one of those kind of people that when you talk to her, you feel like she's really cares, and that you're the only person in the room. Well, speed forward about another 10 years or so, and maybe 15 years, I'm now in my own business. And one of the things I'm doing to get the word out is I'm dancing at different conventions and things like that. And the whole calling card is, I'm 52, 53 years old, and I'm still dancing. The reason why is because of the kind of lifestyle, the holistic lifestyle that I live. Well, at one of these, she was there as a speaker. And I had just danced, and I went into the green room where all the speakers were, and there she was. And I was like, "Oh, wow." And she said, I heard her saying, "I want to talk to the dancer. I want to meet the dancer." And then they said, "Oh, there she is right there." And she walked over to me. "You're the dancer." And I said, "Yes." And I said, "You probably don't remember me, but we've met before." And she said, "You have the 4 daughters. How are they?" And I mean, it's been 15 years, So as we're talking, and my husband got this on tape, we were forehead to forehead. And she was just pouring into me, because one of the things I had told her was that at some point I wanted to go into business for myself. And that was 15 years hence. Now here we are, and I'm in business for myself, and blah, blah. So she was just pouring into me, giving me her wisdom and her support and everything. So that was just so impactful. And then about maybe 5 or 6 years later, I've been struggling with the idea of asking her to be on my podcast. I'm still struggling with that, because she's just so, I don't know, I've got celebrity hurt.
Go for it.
But anyway, she was on C-SPAN. And I noticed, so they were in the audience, and they were she was attending a commemoration, and she was sitting next to her husband, and she was on her phone. And I said, I'm going to see if I can send her a tweet. Okay. So I did. And then about 5 minutes later, I ding, ding. She said, "Liz, how are you?" And I said, "Oh my God, this is it." And I should have asked her right then, "I want you to be on my podcast," but I didn't. But I'm going to. She is now, if I'm 67, she's now, 74, 75. She looks glorious. She has such a beautiful light about her. And the thing I admire most about her is that she's her own person. She has her own signature style, her own way of speaking, and she has great integrity. She left the magazine and founded a mentorship program, mentoring high risk youth in disadvantaged cities, and it's huge now. And she's been honored at the White House, and she's been given all kinds of humanitarian awards. She's very well known in those circles, and it's just been wonderful to watch her rise. But I have a picture of her right here. I see her.
Let me see. That's your inspiration. You have your picture.
Inspiration.
She is gorgeous. So
Yeah. Now her braids are all gray. When I met her, my hair was all black like this too, and so we're both gray. So I'm one of those. I'm not very much of a groupie personality at all, but when it comes to Susan Taylor, she's the one for me. So.
Just showing me that picture, you could feel like
Oh yeah.
but
Oh
also
yeah.
the gracing dignity of really caring to hear your story.
I would encourage people to go to YouTube and type in Susan L. Taylor, and you'll be surprised what pops up. There's some great speeches that she gives, and she's just amazing.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. The other question is, do you have any hidden hobbies that maybe nobody knows about that you want to share to the world?
Hidden hobbies that no one knows about.
Or that you'd like to share.
Well, it's not really that hidden, but a lot of people don't know that I got into adult coloring on my 60th birthday.
Ooh.
And now I have like about 600 gel pens and all these different color books and stuff. And I adult color. In fact, I'll show you, this is what I do to relieve stress. I've done maybe about 100 of these little cards. Here's one of the things, I don't know if you can see it or not.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But that's what I do when I'm, thinking or trying to create stuff or whatever. And I give them away as gifts. And one day I'll put them in a journal. But I don't know. I just have this thing about color. And then I have big ones that I do, the color books and all that. And a lot of times I'll do it while I'm watching television or when I'm just feel like in the middle of the day, just feel kind of blah, I'll get out my coloring book and do adult coloring. And my other hobby that not too many people know about is that I started growing herbs.
Nice.
Yeah, I've lavender and sage and dill. Dill's not an herb, but lavender and sage. They have overtaken my backyard. But I love drying the sage and saging my room. I also love drying the lavender and putting it under my pillow. Knocks me out just like that. And my husband and I, this is kind of our hobby together. We've been buying herbs and, planting them in different parts of our property and stuff, and trees. We got I don't know, we probably have 100 trees on our property, but we bought more trees. So I've kind of gotten into legacy gardening, if that makes any sense. Things that will be growing long after I'm gone, plant new trees and things like that in our backyard, in a place where you would have never thought you would put trees, but they're growing. It's amazing. They actually took root. And my husband and I were like, why did we do this earlier? But we have so many trees around the property. We thought, well, we don't need any more. But we said, well, and there are 4 of them. And we have 4 daughters. So that's perfect.
Oh,
so
lovely.
That's the other thing. I'm a legacy gardener.
It's funny because I raised, the baby's 17, will be 18 in a month, 3 sons. So I can't even imagine 4 little girls. I would live vicariously through you. I miss the shopping and the tea parties and the Barbie dolls.
They're very close in age, soon to be 40, 30, 7, 35, and 32. And
one on the way.
And those are the girls, but I have 6 grandchildren with one on the way. My oldest grandchild is 18 and my youngest grandchild is like 11 months. And then there's another one on the way. So yeah, it's really interesting when you think about it in the frame of reference that I brought 4 through my body, but indirectly I'm responsible for 6 6 plus 4, 10 souls on this earth. That's mind-boggling to think about.
It is. Isn't that beautiful? Someday I'll get a granddaughter, maybe.
They got plenty of time. It's funny because I have 4 daughters, but there's only 2 that have children. The
Mm.
other two don't. It's so funny because my daughter's names start with I or S, and when you put them together in birth order, it spells Isis. And one of them, her name happens to be Isis. But Isis and Imani don't have any children, but Safia and Celine, they do. It's just really weird. The S's have kids, and the I's are the fabulous aunties that spoil the
Mm.
kids rotten. It's perfect. So that way I don't have to do it all the time.
Beautiful names. And let me ask you a question. So was your husband in on the names, or you were like, honey, this is the way it is? I
You
love
know
the
what?
name.
For the first one, Imani, that was a name that my friends used to call me when I was dancing professionally. So that was like a no debate on that one. The second one was my roommate in college.
Oh,
And so he agreed. The third one was he named her, but we were like, okay, Imani means something, Safia means something. We got to come up with a name that means something. So, we came up with Isis. And then not too long after that, the whole thing with Isis came around. And I asked her, I said, do you ever have any problems, with the name? She says, well, sometimes in a crowded Starbucks, I used to give my middle name, to Chanel instead of Isis.
I love
Yeah, and
that.
then Celine, actually, it was our pastor that helped us with that name
Mm.
because we said we got to find a name that means something because her other sisters, and we had the boy's name all picked out because we just knew it was going to be a boy. Three girls, come on now,
Wow.
but it was
Wow.
another girl. So,
Well, you're
but now I have three grandsons, so there you go. Yeah.
wonderful. Oh my gosh. So you're busy with everything going on, juggling all this.
It's been really
Amazing.
interesting. It's been interesting. I had my daughters, pretty close, three of them lived in the same city for years. And they
Mhm.
just recently, one of them's been gone for a long time, ever since she went away to college. But just recently, the ones with the children, one's moved to Texas, the other one's moved to Las Vegas. I still have one here. But now basically everybody's in four different places. So trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to do birthdays and Christmas and all that stuff? It's interesting. And I really should probably rob a bank. For all the airfare I'll be paying. But it's interesting. But you know what? I'm grateful because I have friends who have children my age and they do not talk with them at all on a regular basis.
Mm.
I talk with my girls every single day. We pray together every morning.
That's wonderful.
And we, in between that, there's messages and text messages and pictures. I mean, we just stay in touch because we don't ever want to lose that connection. And I think that's the epitome of wellness is being able to have healthy relationships with your family members. And I realize that that doesn't always happen. So when they decided that it was time for them to move, I was all for it as part of their journey. But I was like, oh, I hope we don't lose the connection. But we haven't. So that's a good thing.
Oh, that's wonderful because that sense of community and that love. I mean, that's
Yes.
so important. That's like the blue zones. That's another whole story, which is the areas
Yes.
that the people live the longest. And
Yes.
that's something that we lost when we were just going through so much over this couple of years ago. But it is so gratifying to look somebody in the eye, give them a hug, just make that smile, that connection. That goes such a long way. So yeah, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much, Lynnis. And I would love for you to share any special packages, something that you're doing, your links. Please let us know.
Well, first of all, I don't know exactly when this is going to air, but by the time it airs, my new network, the Vibe Wellness Woman Network, would have launched. And I'm super excited about it because it's a dream that's finally coming to fruition. This was put on my mind 6 years ago when I first started the Facebook group. The whole
Mm.
idea was to build this group and then build a membership. And I kept saying, well, when I get to 5,000, I'll start the membership. Well, then 10,000, I'll start the membership. 15,000, I'll start the membership. 20,000, okay, definitely still didn't do it. So finally, basically, the universe said, look, you need to start the membership now. So you're going to start it on your 67th birthday. You're going to just release this thing. So I had looked for platforms and things to put it on. I couldn't find it, what I wanted. So I built it myself. I built the
Mm.
website myself. And basically what it is, it's a network of women who believe in the idea of holistic living and who want to know what their choices are when it comes to aging gracefully. You do not have to be sick to age. You can age gracefully. You can age healthy. You know, you don't have to be in the hospital a lot and taking pharmaceuticals and all that. So we give a lot of preventative information, and all different areas that women are usually interested in. And they're not just talking to me. I mean, I've got 14 other women who will be doing workshops and writing blogs. There's a podcast on there. We have online courses, guides, challenges, a plethora of information for a very reasonable price. It's only $22 a month to have access to all of that. And the thing that I love the most is I'll be creating a private Facebook group so that once a week people can come in and I will talk with them along with one of the contributors about whatever their issue is or whatever, so that we want to be able to provide an affordable service, and I want to be able to connect them with people who could really help them in particular issues that they're having that they just haven't gotten the results they've gotten, or they haven't been able to talk about it. We'll be talking about a lot of different things that happen with our bodies when we get through menopause and relationships, empty nest syndrome, so many things that we are aware of, but sometimes there's so much information out there, it's overwhelming. So we deliver the information in really simple ways, with simple things to do, but always with the idea that if you want to further connect, you can, because you found someone who understands your plight or who's speaking your language or who can really help you. So I'm very excited about it. I have lofty goals. You know, I'm thinking if I can get 1 to 2% of my following on the platform, I'd be a happy camper.
The sky's the limit, right? Shoot for the stars. You only live once.
Okay, I'm shooting for the stars. Okay.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, after so many years of doing this, that shooting for the stars is appropriate.
So powerful. That's something my mother would always say. Leslie, she looked me in the eye and said, Mom, weren't you like scared that like maybe it wouldn't work? And she looked at me and she goes, I did it because I want to. And I am driven and motivated and nobody will ever stop me. And I was like, okay, Mom, I like that. So
I do too.
That's awesome.
And you're like that too. You listen. She planted those seeds and look at you now.
Yes, she did. So I'm saying thank you. She's always my guiding light. And we also would like to know, how can people reach you?
You know what? The best way to reach me is to go to vibewellnesswoman.com. vibewellnesswoman.com, and there you can connect with me. You can send me an email. Everything is right there. That's the other reason why I'm so excited, is that everything's right there on the site. It was so interesting. I was so busy thinking about the women and what they need. My friend said, well, where's information about you? And I'm like, oh, you know. He said, no, Lynnis, you should have your press releases there, your contact information about you and all that. So I did add that at the last minute. So all that information is there. I would love to hear from your listeners, and I'll just kind of find out what's going on with them, and have them take a look at the network as well to see if it's something that resonates with them.
I'm sure it will, because I just feel so connected with you, and I haven't even actually... We're meeting now, but
I know we've been trying to connect for a while.
Yeah, and it was meant to happen today. So
yes, it was. It was.
I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to be on Keep It Dirty podcast. And for everybody, my viewers and listeners, just remember to keep it dirty, ground with Mother Earth, and also for a limited time, free yourself. Will offer 25% off total purchases by entering code, all caps, Keep It Dirty at checkout. And they have these beautiful, clean fragrances that serve really as portals to self-discovery, holistic growth, and overall well-being. And they have an unwavering commitment to green chemistry, eco-friendly practices, and they give back 10% of profits to different organizations. They have beautiful, clean fragrances and different natural candles, and they work one-on-one with artisans local to where they live in Vermont. So again, I want to thank my viewers and listeners. I want to thank you for being here on my show. And have a beautiful day.
Thank you. You as well. Have a vibe day, as we say.
Love it.